Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. This is an English translation of the Majlis of Hazrathmaulana Qamaruzzamansahebalahbadi Damat Barakatuhum, which took place on Monday after the Magharib Salat, Monday 22nd of Zulqa'dah 1444, corresponding with the English date 12th of June 2023. This Majlis took place at Madrasa Hidayatul Islam, Talimabad, Tonk Khurd, Polai Diwas, MP, India. Hazratwala starts off by quoting the ayat of the Quran Majid, وَرَتِّلِ الْقُرْآنَ تَرْتِيلًا. Hazratwala is saying that friends, elders and most dear ones. Just now, a very special person of mine was just praising me, due to which I actually felt ashamed, embarrassed. In what sense? Meaning that I'm not that. And in the same breath, I also appreciated it in the sense that this should be the da'iyah, the jazba, that passion and enthusiasm that a murid should have for his ustad and his sheikh. Allah Ta'ala make me deserving of that. Rather, Allah make me such. He came as a young student, and from that time he's with me right up till now. Rather, I've even given him khilafat, and he's making others murids as well. You know, if Allah gives me 1/100th of what He has said, even that would be a means of my najat, sufficient for my najat. It came into my mind now that the Quran was just completed now, Khatam took place, and at the time of Khatam of the Quran, du'as are accepted. Now this was the practice of the Sahaba radiyallahu ta'ala anhum, that at the time of Khatam, they would then bring their family together. We're talking about Nazra, not Hifz. We're talking about Nazra, not Hifz. But they would call their wives and children together, and at that time they would all collectively then make dua. There is no limits in dua, and in fact in this time in an age, the dua should be even more. There's so much of need for it that no one can actually say. I mean, people come, they sit, and they ask also for du'as. We are all in need of du'a. Ad-du'a'u mukhul ibadah. Du'a is the essence of ibadat. Now, Hazratwala goes on to speak about ibadat and abdiyat. Hazratwala is saying, every such amal of ours that is liked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is categorized as ibadat. So we do the amal, it goes from us to Allah, Allah is pleased with it, that becomes ibadat. So ibadat is what is from our side going to Allah. On the other hand, what is from Allah Ta'ala's side, conditions that come upon the servants, come upon us. If the servant, the banda of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is happy with those conditions, then that is abdiyat. Sometimes from the side of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, also unfavorable conditions come. And when a person is happy with that, that is called abdiyat. Now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was called abd, the servant of Allah, and he was not referred to at any point as abid, the worshipper of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The ta'alluq and the relationship of ibadat is only good to do with this worldly life. But the relationship of abdiyat goes then right into the Akhirat. Hazratwala quotes the waqia that is mentioned in Tafsir Mazhari. Hazratmaulana Shah Wasiullah Sahib used to quote this as well, that at that time, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask the mu'mineen that go and throw yourselves into Jahannam. And that's exactly what they would go and do. And Allah Ta'ala would say the same thing to the kuffar, like how they used to make claims here and they were false and they used to lie. Then they exactly the same they would do. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about his banda and his servant. We say, وَأَشْهَدُ أَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا عَبْدُهُ وَرَسُولُهُ. Allah Ta'ala speaks about Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam in glowing terms. Allah Ta'ala praises Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Allah Ta'ala mentions the sifat of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, speaking about him as a abd first. He brings him, describes him as abd and his servant first. Then later on, after that, Allah Ta'ala speaks and describes him to be his Rasul. So just like how we have this urge, this thirst and quest, da'iyah and jazba, to carry out ibadat, similarly we should have this type of passion, thirst, enthusiasm to make amal on abdiyat as well, because far more than ibadat will a person actually, for ibadat, the amount of qurb and proximity a person gains to Allah is in its place. But far more than that is the proximity which is achieved when a person is making amal on abdiyat, when he has abdiyat in himself. Hazrat Haji Imdadullah, such type of poverty came his way. However, he understood it from the side of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he understood it to be a means of him getting closeness to Allah. Now Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is mentioned in the hadith that I eat at one time and I make the shukr of Allah, and I don't eat at another time, the next time, so that I can make sabr and exercise patience. So we understand from all of this also that the hal of a mu'min is always a good condition. His condition is always a good condition. When things are working out for him, he makes shukr to Allah, and that's good for him. And when things are against him, he exercises sabr, and that's also good for him. Hazrat Abrar al-Haq Sahib, we came on one occasion to Allahabad, and he says to Hazrat Mohammad Ahmad Sahib that, Hazrat, I went to Pakistan, and my ustad Hazrat Muhammad Yusuf Bindori taught me this dua: Alhamdulillahi alladhi saqani adban furatan bi rahmatihi wa lam yaj'alhu milhan ujajan bi dhunubina. All praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has given me sweet water to drink out of his mercy. Out of Allah's mercy, He has given me sweet water to drink, and He did not make it bitter, salty, brackish due to my sins. So do we even know what's the value of one sip of water? We heard those waqi'at, that half a kingdom, rather the entire kingdom, is given away for one sip of water. So in this dua, there is so much of abdiyat, an expression of helplessness in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, we still get an estimation or some type of a calculation of his ibadat. But there is no type of an estimation or calculation regarding the abdiyat of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he is expressing himself helplessly in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, portraying himself to be a true servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you would not see, as I mentioned, anyway Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam described as an abid. Rather, you would find abd. When a certain wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah ta'ala wants him to reach a certain station or high level, and he cannot reach that, and Allah Ta'ala puts him in some type of difficulty so that he can reach that position. So sabr and shukr, these are the two wings of insan by means of which he reaches Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now in this darul ghaflat, in this world and in this place of negligence, if somebody makes tilawat, it is something very, very great. For people of suluk, in Al-Qawl Jamil it is mentioned that at least 3 hours they should keep for themselves, between themselves and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when a person takes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name just once, it is so great that it is better than this entire world and whatever it contains. So a person has fikr of the akhirat. Something very, very great is to keep in our minds Jannah and Jahannam, istihzar of it. Keep it in our minds and in our hearts. Hazrathmaulana Abdul Majid Daryabadi said to Hazrat Tanvi on one occasion that Hazrat, Allah Ta'ala has mentioned so much about Jannat and Jahannam, but how come the Maulvis don't really mention much about Jannah and Jahannam? Hazrat Tanvi then acknowledged that and he said, what you're saying is absolutely true, absolutely correct. Now I heard this year directly Hazratwala is saying from Hazrathmaulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab. Hazrat Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha, Malfuz, she says, in the initial stages of Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed so many ayat, or majority of the ayat at that time were regarding and concerning that of Jannah and Jahannam. So many ayat of Jahannam that fear gripped the hearts, due to which the Sahaba did not go in the direction of sin. And so many ayat regarding Jannah that so much of enthusiasm and thirst for Jannah was created that they carried out a'mal. Now just how I am mentioning the name of Hazrat Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha, women folk can also excel just like that. Hazrat Wala is saying, when I got married, Hazrat Wala is speaking about the mother of Maqbool. And he says that at that time there, now for the son-in-law to go into the house and this and that, at that time there, initially, she already was writing, Hazrat Wala is saying, after nikah, writing letter in her thirst, because she wanted to learn so much. Rather, she had already started learning at that time. You know, we were going through the Aqwal-e-Salaf, and in it, there are so many of the woman folk, saintly woman folk that are mentioned in this kitab. You know, I was reading through it, and myself, I started becoming so envious that how these women folk had reached Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hazrat Wala quotes that incident which is also mentioned in Tabaqatul Kubra about this lady from amongst the saintly women. She would dress herself up beautifully and then present herself to her husband saying, do you have any need with me? And if he would then answer in the negative, then she would remove those type of garments and wear a simple garment and then engage herself the entire night in the ibadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She would leave the husband to sleep, but when it would come to the last portion of the night and the time is now going to expire, etc., there's some amount of time now left, she would then come waking her husband up, that come wake up, this caravan has now gone very, very far. Wake up, kafla bahut bar chuki hai. And you know, the example that is given is of, you know, these women that sell these vegetables, etc. When it comes towards the end of the day, what do they actually start doing? They start giving everything away for next to nothing, sometimes even for free. They start giving it away. And that's exactly the example that is quoted of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when the night now starts coming to a complete end. that this time of the Hajjud now is coming to an end. At that time there, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also just gives and blesses a servant. So at that time, a person should most definitely be in munajat and talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, initially, the women folk used to come to the Majlis, and we would give talk and nasihat, etc. And Hazrathmaulana Mohammad Ahmad Sahib used to also attend, and he would then make the dua. Eventually, when I started then going to Gujarat, the women folk then began saying that we need to put a case up against Maulana that he is leaving us and he's going to Gujarat. What can I tell you about these women folk? This lady here, who was absolutely, how would say, free woman, maybe modern, or no, this thing of parda or this or that. However, when she came on this side, what can I even tell you about her high spiritual states? She speaks and writes about her halat at the time of the Hajjud, which I cannot even understand how ali and how great that there is itself. And not only that, how many women are coming to take faida from her? She is also conducting her own majlis. So وَالذَّاكِرِينَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا وَالذَّاكِرَاتِ, those men who abundantly remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the women folk who abundantly remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, أَعَدَّ اللَّهُ لَهُمْ مَغْفِرَةً وَأَجْرًا عَظِيمًا, Allah has prepared for them forgiveness and a huge, great reward. So, I'm speaking about Maqbul's mother. I mean, like that, her hair would be covered. But if the adhan just had to go on, if there was anything sticking out here or there, if we are speaking about her impression, or at that time when the azan would go, immediately her hand would go to her head trying to do this or that. Now, what is all this about? We saying this here and quoting all of these halat of women folk in this recent time and age. So by us quoting these here, it can be a sabak for us. Hazratwala is saying, I'm saying all of this also because there are women folk present here today. People are coming to say this and that and the other. But also now, what about our women folk? Is there anybody coming to say that my wife or my daughter has become a mufassira of the Quran Majid, an expert or master regarding the meanings and the translation, the tafsir of the Quran Majid? So we learn from this here that men should also pay attention to this point. And should encourage the women folk as well. Allah Ta'ala give us that tawfiq and inspiration. Just like how men are responsible, they will be held responsible. They will be questioned about this. Similarly, the women folk are also going to be questioned, and they are also held responsible for that. Like now, this is what I have to say, and I'm tired now. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us all, the men folk and the women folk as well. If a person reads the du'as for the different occasions, such a person also will come under the category of those who remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala abundantly, وَالذَّاكِرِينَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا وَالذَّاكِرَاتِ, just by merely reading the different du'as during the day and night. They will fit under this great category. اللهم ألف بين قلوبنا وأصلح ذات بيننا واهدنا سبل السلام ونجنا من الظلمات إلى النور وجنبنا الفواحش ما ظهر منها وما بطن وبارك لنا في أسماعنا وأبصارنا وقلوبنا وأزواجنا وذرياتنا وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. Allah Ta'ala make it easy for us to make amal. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم بحرمة سيد النبي الكريم صلى الله عليه وسلم.